and welcome. We are Spooky Boy and the Spirit Sisters, a paranormal podcast for the strange and unusual, by the strange and unusual. On today's episode, we're going to be covering part 2 of our Past Life Regression series. But before we do that, Spooky Boy, take us away.
I want to say thank you all for your support and sharing your stories and experiences with us. Our goals with this show is to create a safe place to start opening up and having these discussions. We are not experts. We are learning and exploring these topics. With you, together, we are being vulnerable, sharing our experiences with you. Because we want to take this journey together, seek the truth together. We love hearing from you, and if we are to continue building and growing our community, we need your help. So please, share with us, and that way we can share more with you. Like, follow, subscribe, and share. Visit our website. Listen to us on your favorite app, Spotify, Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Buzzsprout, YouTube with closed captioning, and more. Stay up to date by going to Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. If you guys can convince even one friend to listen, whether it's someone who likes this stuff or someone who would benefit from this community, it's a great way to open up the conversation. So once again, share with us so we can share with you.
All right, we know it's been a little while, so we'll do a quick recap. In part 1, we had Amanda go, and she had an actual past life reading done. And then, a little bit after that, Austin and Cassidy did a guided meditation for a past life regression. So if you guys want to do a quick recap also on kind of what you experienced, just to bring everybody back to that episode.
Yeah, so a couple weeks ago, I went and got a past life reading done, which was a lot different from what you guys did. You guys did a regression, and mine was basically she was just pulling from my Akashic records, whereas your guys's, you were doing it yourself.
Yeah, Lauren had suggested to go upstairs and do a guided meditation and try to just basically see what happens, right? And I went into it not thinking anything was going to happen, in which during that state I saw like golden auras. Apparently at one point when it was saying, "What is your name?" I heard Ra. So, I'm the Egyptian sun god here, potentially. No pressure.
Big deal. Yeah,
no big deal.
What?
Who cares?
Flexing over here.
Yeah, you know me, Mr. Buff Guy. But the weird thing was I could easily have written all of that off. But the thing is Cassidy, you were in the other room going through your own at that point.
Yeah, and we were both like picking up on each other's energies throughout the whole time.
Yeah, and Austin had no idea that you were up there.
Yeah, no, I had absolutely no idea that she was up there. I just was like, weird. But we had mentioned throughout the last podcast that we were potentially going to go home and do a second one, which that night we were so intrigued by the first regression, we decided to do that again. During this time, this guided meditation sort of had us trying to tap into our Akashic records. And there was weird moments again where Cassidy and I picked up on each other's energy. And at this point, we knew that we were both going to do this because we started at the same time, but we were in completely different towns in our own homes. In which certain parts of where I saw her there was a point during the guided meditation where he's like, "You're on a hill, and now you're looking down and you're seeing your temple," right? And I remember as I was walking up this hill, I could see Cassidy on the top of the hill already starting to walk towards her temple. And then there was and I was super calm during all of this, but when I got to essentially the entrance of my Akashic records, I remember feeling like a really sort of like a rise in my anxiety and things like that, but I could tell it wasn't mine. And I just instinctively told Cassidy, "Hey, it's okay. There's no reason to be scared. Just sort of go with it, go with the flow, experience what you're experiencing." And then at that point, I felt my anxiety level lower. And then I know you and I were talking, and you said that you sort of had that thought in your head, like if I had said that to you.
Yeah. And it was weird because I definitely did have anxiety. Even when I made it into my Akashic records, it was very weird. It was like only certain things were being shown to me.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was almost like kind of like a quick, like bird's eye view of what it looked like. But when I tried to like take closer looks at things, it was like something was holding me back.
Yeah, like certain things you could see, but other things were blurred out.
Yeah.
So like for my Akashic records, like when I entered, the whole thing was like, take a look, see what it looks like, right? And for mine, it was all scrolls, all written on like parchment paper, things like that, like super old school. And
By old school, you mean like you had said like the Library of Alexandria?
Yeah,
almost.
very much like if, from images that you've seen from artists who like recreate that.
Which, like, the bibliophile in me is still triggered whenever I think about the burning of the Library of Alexandria.
Yeah.
Like, I remember
That's
being in
sad.
school learning about that, and literally for the next 48 hours just being so pissed off that
7 tears trickled
that it
down
was
her.
sacked. Like,
But no, like I guess you could akin it to that, right? So everything was very just written in scrolls, and it was all lit up by natural sunlight. There was no candles, there was nothing like that. It was just pretty much, like the sun was directly over it, like if it was noon, shining straight down through a skylight, and everything was lit up, and there were certain shadows and things like that. That's what it looked like to me. And then it was like, oh, look for a door. Look for a door and see which door pulls you, like basically pulls you to it. So instantly I saw these giant, probably like 12 by 12 foot doors, outlined in gold. And then on the inlay of it was like black onyx or something like that. And gorgeous doors. And I was instantly drawn to that, and I shot to that. And I remember in my head, like, hurry up, tell me to open the damn doors. Like, it was weird because, like, during this guided meditation, I felt like I couldn't just open the doors on my own. I had to wait till he was like, okay, and go to the doors.
Yeah, he took some really long, uncomfortable
Holy
pauses.
hell,
and I was
yeah, he
like,
did.
let's go, man.
I was like, chop, chop, chop. I got things to do.
we'll also link the 2 different regressions that you guys did. We'll link
Yes.
them in the episode notes. How would you compare this one? Yeah, the first one
So
to this
first guy,
Michael Sealey.
Yes, I liked Michael Sealey's voice better because the last one, or our second one, I forget who it was, he was good, but he had a very hard emphasis on his S's, so it was like...
It took you out of it a little bit at times.
like in a way,
Yeah.
it was like at times where I was like, oh, I was like clenching my ears.
I
because
did
was just
like how the second guy was like very no pressure, like it's okay if you don't, if you can't do it yet, or like he was very chill.
Yeah, so he was chill. But anyways, going back to the doors. So by the time he was like, okay, open the doors, I like basically kicked down those damn doors. I was like, open. So but when they opened, there was this black, almost like a black mass, this heavy, dense fog, right? And he was like, walk through that. So as I was trying to walk through it, I could feel this like pressure almost on my head, and like in like my mind kind of thing, being like really difficult to try to like push through. But like I was so damn determined and stubborn that I was like, I'm gonna see whatever you're trying to like not show me. So as I progressed through, like I entered into, I don't know, some period of time where I was like a Roman soldier, like I was maybe a lieutenant of some sort, whatever would have been back then. I just knew that I was higher than a standard like foot soldier. I commanded like a platoon or something like that. And I remember I was maybe like 40 years old, and I was standing in this field of red flowers, next maybe I'd say maybe 10 yards away from me, there was like a trail leading up to a destroyed temple. And then to the left of me, I don't know, maybe like a football fields, so 100 yards away from me, there was this gentle stream that was trickling down this mountain pass that I was in. And I just remember feeling like sad. Like I was there, like there was a lot of memories from this temple or this house or whatever it was, and that I had lost somebody or I lost people, and I felt responsible for their deaths. And as it was progressing, it was like, okay, now view yourself in the third person. And it was weird because I could like tell it was me, but like, you know, a little bit of my jawline was changed, like certain facial structures were changed, and I had like a really huge scar from like my right shoulder down towards my forearm, like where I had gotten like cut from maybe battle or something like that. But I just remember feeling like this sadness of loss, but also this immense pride. Like I was proud to be where I was, who I was. And then out of nowhere, I got pulled out of it again. Now, Cassie, what did you see during yours?
I saw a few different like past lives. One that was kind of cool was like 18th century Cassidy, and I was actually, I kind of looked like how I do, but like definitely with more money. I was definitely
ching,
from
baby.
yeah, definitely from like a wealthier like family.
So you were still bougie in a past life.
I mean, I can totally understand.
Bougie to
Cassidy
the
and I
next
have
level.
like a similar expense taste.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's not good for our bank accounts.
No, I'm very poor. Anyway.
Same.
So, but no, really, you in a past life, you were very like dressed to the nines and all about fashion and stuff like that. And now in this lifetime, you know, you're very stylish. You are, you know, you always have your jewelry, you come blinged out, your fashion is very on T. So you can see that there's a pattern, you know, right off the bat there. You know, this 18th century past life had a taste, and it also carried over to this life. You know, Austin, you had said that in the past life you had an injury, like a major injury on your arm, right?
Yeah.
And in this lifetime, you know, you've had issues with like your back, like you had something dropped on you when you were at work the one time, you know, and that left a huge thing. You get that pain in the neck right there, you know. Certain patterns leak into this lifetime. It's like,
yeah, it's like certain
things.
injuries, certain
Traits.
traumatic kind of things, like from your other past lives, you're saying bleed into the current lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
Like your soul sort of carries over those experiences so that you don't have to, in a way, relive them, but you have to hold on to them because they were a lesson learned.
Right, something
Okay.
like that. Like, for example, when I had some of my past life flashbacks, and then when I had my reading from Betsy Morgan Kaufman, she was able to pull a couple of the lifetimes where I had received like major, either whether it was fatal or, but I had trauma to my neck, and trauma in my back area, like somewhere in my spine. And in those past lifetimes where that happened, it ended up being fatal. You know, whether I was hanged for being a witch, at one point I was decapitated, another point I was burned, like all of these things in this lifetime, you know, I have disc degenerative disease. And specifically, there's 3 discs along my spine that when they pinch, like it could leave me incapacitated for like weeks. There's one in my neck, and when that hits, let's not even go there. But then there's 2 in my lower back. So it's not as extreme as being beheaded or stuff, but it's still like a little kind of like, oh, hey, this lifetime it's going to be a little bit easier. We're just going to pinch this part of your neck instead of, you know. Yeah. So certain things carry over.
I kind of want to go back and talk a little bit about Akashic Records. My Akashic Records looked something kind of like a big, beautiful old library. And it had this like crazy intricate paneling all around it. And you walk in and it was like a mix of like old stuff and new stuff. Again, it was kind of like when I was doing it, I was being taken in there, but only shown certain parts of it.
It's very similar to how I saw my Akashic Records when I had one of my experiences. I briefly had a moment where I was like laying in bed and I went into some meditative state, and I didn't mean to, it just happened. And
was it sleep?
No, like I came out of the shower one day and I was just like, you know what? I'm feeling really tired all of a sudden. And it was like 1 PM. So I sat on my bed, and then the next thing I knew, I was like laying down, and I was immediately transported to this beautiful library. And mine was very similar to what you described. It had like the intricate like wooden paneling on it, but there was also like a filing system in some of the things. And you can tell that this place was a lot bigger than what you were seeing, but you could only see specific things, like only what they would allow you to see.
Yeah.
And I just remember, just the bookcases and the bookcases just spanning forever. Although mine was a little bit different. I remember seeing the bookcases, but then when I traveled a little bit further, in the middle of this place, I don't know if it was like an atrium in the middle of it, but there was this massive tree, and it was just growing inside this like library, and everything around it, like there was like a balcony, there was a floor, I think there was like 2 or 3 balconies up. Like when I say this tree was massive, I mean massive. Like, and it was just there. Like everyone was just like, oh yeah, that's the tree of life, or that's whatever they called it. Like, but it was very similar to what you described. And this was years before I even knew you when I had this.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, because we did that meditation thing a long time ago with
Rebecca Campbell,
yeah. And what I saw then was pretty similar to what I saw again.
Mm-hmm.
And I do believe that I met a spirit guide when we did that all together. His name's Peter.
Hey.
What's up, Peter? What's good?
All names. It's not like some majestic name. It's just Peter.
Well, Peter's an old name, you know. It's in the Bible. It's
some apostle.
Yeah, it's an older name. So my spirit guide's name was Eris, but when we did the one together, the meditation, my spirit guide that time was Nimue. So
Nimue. I like that name.
Yeah, and I remember being like, Nimue, what does that mean? Like, I've never heard of that before. So
short for Nimrod.
Oh my God,
I was thinking that too.
Rude. Respect my guides.
Respect my guides. I want that on a shirt.
Respect my spirit guides.
But yeah, it's I want to talk about Madame Blavatsky because she kind of helped coin that whole term of Akashic Records. And she was a really badass woman. Like, she was a Russian spiritualist. She was born in August 12, 1831, basically in the part of Russia that's now known as Ukraine. But she has a very interesting childhood as well. Like, her mother was a writer. Her grandfather had a library, and a lot of those books in there were occult works. So she wasn't, like, completely unfamiliar with all of this kind of stuff. It was kind of in her childhood as well. She, like, would sleepwalk and talk in her sleep. And she even, like, said that she would see, like, glaring eyes glaring red eyes on like inanimate objects and things.
Spooky.
Yeah. So she had a very wild, vivid imagination as a kid. And you know, she was psychic. She was able to predict locations of things. She could manifest objects out of like nothingness. It was crazy. Like there was times where she would be able to manifest like toys and things for children, or like
was she a magician?
Basically.
A sorceress.
Yeah.
What is this witchcraft?
Yeah, and she like there was another instance where she was able to like duplicate these like precious stones that were found in India. I don't know how she really did that, but a lot of people report things like that happening with her.
When was she born? Like what round?
1831.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So right in that like section of the rise of spiritualism.
Yeah.
So could it very much be akin to the Fox sisters in the sense that a lot of it was on show, or?
Well, she was before the Fox sisters.
Well, I know she was
Yeah.
before the Fox sisters, but I mean it was still within that like rise.
Yeah.
That start of it.
Yeah, she was seen by, like, she was kind of, a lot of people thought she was a fraud.
Okay.
She was very controversial, but there were people that followed her and believed in her, but then there were also those people who were like, yeah, that's not real. You aren't doing that. Like pretty much anybody
Can relate.
I mean, yeah, same.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she got married really young. She was 17 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it was to a guy in his 40s.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
No.
But then she left him 3 months after they got married.
Ooh, go girl.
Right?
Good job.
And she just dedicated like the next like 20 or so years just to travel all around the world. And she like literally, I think, went around the world like 3 times.
Yeah.
After she got married.
Goals.
Yeah. And her husband was super upset about that because they just got married, and she's like, okay, bye. And, you know, they couldn't get a divorce because divorce in Russia was like, you know, that was a no-no. So they stayed married, but he basically just never saw her again, like after that. And
Like, this is great. We did that. I played housewife for a little bit, so peace. I'm out.
Housewife for 3 months. Traveler for the rest.
yeah. There was one instance where she talks about someone that she refers to as the master of my dreams.
Yes.
And this was a person that would appear and interact with her, and like her life was even saved at one point, like because this person appeared and told her like, you're going to get into an accident.
Mhm.
And it saved her life.
Yeah.
Yeah. Pretty cool. And at the time, like she like thought maybe it was Jesus because, you know, grew up in that like Russian Orthodox church. So,
And if you don't know anything other than that, you immediately go to the things that you do know. So it makes sense, but damn. My guides need to get good. Like,
yeah, come on. Where's my guide when I'm making bad decisions? Like,
Right, same.
he's over in the corner making the same bad decisions.
Yeah,
going,
right.
you go, girl.
yeah,
Raising
probably.
his handle of tequila. Like,
He's like, cheers.
Bringing me the handle. There you
We
go.
got
Keep
this.
drinking, baby.
that's my girl.
So there's a person that ended up becoming her teacher, and she referred to him as like, you know, like her master of wisdom. And he believed that he had been looking after her since she was a child, and that she was really like her path, her goal was to basically help bring that Eastern philosophy over to the Western world. So
this like the master of her dreams and like this master of wisdom, are they the same? Are they people or are they entities of sorts?
the master of her dreams, I feel like, was more an entity. This other person who became her teacher or mentor was an actual person.
Yeah.
And he basically just asked her, you know, spread everything you know, spread your knowledge around the world. So during that time, sorry, go ahead. Someone.
Oh, I was going to say, just going back, that's very similar to, we talked about daemons a couple episodes ago. So it could be possible that maybe she was contacted by her daemon, or that, like, that guide.
Of. That in-between realm between, it's like what the Greeks believed in, like, it was that...
Or diamond. Is it daemon? Diamond?
There's so many different names for it. You have daemon, daimon, like...
But yeah, we talked about something similar to that, so that's cool that ties into that episode as well. Sorry, go on. I'm fascinated. So
yeah, so like during these travels, like there was a lot of questions that were like popping into her head. Obviously, one of the big ones was like, where, who, what is God? And the other one was asking like, so who saw the immortal spirit of man that can be able to reassure themselves of the immortality of man? So she was just
very deep.
Mm-hmm. And she wrote the Secret Doctrine that was published in 1888. And that kind of goes into, it was separated into 2 volumes. So the first volume kind of talks about the whole development of the cosmos. And the second volume is all about the humanity of Earth, its evolution, and the archaic symbolism and world religions and whatnot. And she was, okay, first of all, like, there's some stuff I found out, and I'm like, this woman is fucking awesome. So, number one, well, not number one, but this is cool. She really influenced the art scene, and I feel like people don't talk about that as much. Like, Mondrian, for example, like, he's considered one of the best painters of the 20th century. If you remember that, like, weird painting with, like, all the rectangles and the primary colors, and you're like, what the fuck? Yeah, it's that one. Yeah. Really famous painting. But she was a huge inspiration for him. Like, he had her picture on his walls and everything, and she also did a few other cool things. She disguised herself as a man. She fought under Garibaldi, was left for dead in the Battle of Mentana, came back to life, and then escaped on a Greek vessel at sea that ended up blowing up.
What? Did she die there, or did she
No.
continue?
Wait,
No.
What?
She-
What?
Are you broken?
What?
You're done with the what?
She's glitching.
What? I need you. Wait, what? Go back. What did you just say?
She died. She was resurrected on the 3rd day and then blew up on a Greek ship.
She escaped before it blew up, but yeah.
Blavatsky.
Isn't that wild?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Lauren's got one word now. What? What?
And then in 1860, she had this wound, like, right below her heart that I guess it started to open up again. And she got it from, she was using the sword in a magical practice. And that's how she got the injury by her heart. And so...
Wait, she accidentally stabbed herself while she was doing a ritual?
Yes.
Oops.
Lauren, be careful.
Oh my god, what if I was Madame Blavatsky in a past life?
I honestly would not even be surprised. So this wound, it opened up again, and she started, like, convulsing and having all this pain, and after that, she...
If you guys could
Lauren.
see Lauren's face right now. I'm broken.
Continue, Cassidy.
So after that all happened, she was convulsing, all that stuff. She felt like after that point, she started to lose her powers, like her gifts, and that they would only come back in these, like, rare moments at her own will. But she... hang on.
Why
Wait,
are
so
there
she
not
would get her
movies
gifts.
about this?
So she lost her gifts, but could recall those gifts on her own terms.
Yeah, it was more like things wouldn't come to her, like, you know, just out of the blue and just pop.
Yeah.
Like she had to
ask for it.
Yeah. Exactly.
Why
Like
is
us
there
simpletons.
why are there not movies or like a TV series about her? Like,
I'm sure there's got to be a documentary or something out there.
She really is broken.
I got you. Oh. Okay, please continue.
So one of the biggest things that she's known for is being the founder of the Theosophical Society of 1875. So the whole like goal with that was to help bring clarity to like Buddhist traditions. It aimed at forming a universal brotherhood of man. And
was that the one in India? Or is that...
So they started it in India,
Yeah.
and then they kind of branched out from there as time went on.
Okay,
Because, yeah, we have one in
yeah.
Illinois.
Yeah, it's in Wheaton.
Mhm.
And it's beautiful.
Yeah,
Like,
it really is.
it is... You can almost, like, if you don't know it's there, you can drive right past it. But Austin and I took a trip there, and the library, as a bibliophile, gorgeous. Like, books that stack to the ceiling. They got a little sitting area. It's my mahogany dream. Just the architecture of it. They have different rooms for like meditation. The walls are painted, and they've got all this like esoteric symbolism in it, and it's just amazing.
I need to go.
Like, it's we got when COVID dies the fuck down, we have to take an SBATSS trip to there, because even on the land, so they have sections and they have a map. I have a map somewhere of it, and they have these like groves of trees, but they're the different kinds of like sacred trees that are there. You've got the willow trees, you've got the oak trees, like they got all of them there. They have like an outdoor amphitheater almost kind of set up for like bonfires and rituals and stuff. And they even have like a cool little shop that's like right next to it. So it's
Yeah, if you ever find yourself out in Wheaton,
Illinois,
stop by.
Wheaton, Illinois. So, but continue. Sorry, it's really something.
Oh yeah, no, I definitely want to go. But it was investigating like the laws of nature, developing divine powers that in man. It was also claimed to be directed by the people that she referred to as the masters of wisdom. So yeah, really, really cool stuff. We might actually end up doing an episode all on her because there was a lot,
Yeah, there's so much on her.
Yeah.
Even in the library at the Theosophical Society, there's like just a whole fucking wall just dedicated to her and all of her books and stuff. So, yes, let's do it.
Yeah.
Well, wasn't she one of the first Westerners to to convert to Buddhism?
Yeah.
Yeah, she was like,
Yeah,
it was
I'm
like
pretty
her
sure.
and then Henry Alcott.
Mm-hmm.
I think they went and did that. So that was
That's something.
Yeah. Well, she went through all of that stuff, like all the crazy stuff that we were just talking about, but then she died from influenza.
Oh.
wasn't tuberculosis.
That was
No.
going to be my next question. Okay, if she survived all of that, how the fuck did she die? Please tell me it was from wrestling a bear or something.
Right? You would think.
Yeah, one would hope, but it
No,
was
it's
just
usually you
influenza.
lead this epic ass life and then you die by something like
Yeah.
A mosquito or some shit.
Yeah.
malaria.
Yeah.
That's
You stub your toe on a rusty nail and you get hepatitis and you're gone.
But
man, that
like after
Amen.
all of that shit she went through, she dies
Yeah, I mean,
of influenza.
the Russian Jesus to get blown up by a Greek ship, still survive that, and then
We're just going to play
I have the
Helena by
sniffles.
MCR now.
I have the flu, and now I'm gone.
Yeah.
But she converted to Buddhism,
Mm-hmm.
and which also is a religion that believes in reincarnation.
Yes.
Therefore, all of these different past lives and reading them, and you're
Mhm.
able to access your past lives through the Akashic records. So basically all the different records are quote-unquote books or like Austin saw scrolls. All of them are supposed to contain not only like the secrets of the universe, but also they contain the narratives of all of your past lives.
So someone that followed Madame Blavatsky was Edgar Cayce, and he was born in 1877. So he did something kind of similar with his own readings where he focused on, he did like past life regressions for people and also just like world readings.
Yeah,
like,
he did. He was known as the sleeping prophet. Mm-hmm. He basically went into this meditative state or kind of like sleeping. And he would go in and he would like basically diagnose people with like if they had like an ailment or an injury and they didn't know how to cure it, he could go in, figure out what it is, and
literally find a treatment.
The cure for it. Like, didn't he found out that his wife had tuberculosis, and he like went in. And I'm looking at Austin right now
because we
tuberculosis.
Yeah, I knew that was coming.
I had to say it. Sorry.
Like he went in and he found a cure for it, and she actually got cured for it.
Yeah,
that's insane.
This was crazy. I mean, this guy and like his whole background, like he was just born into like a family of farmers. Like,
yeah,
you know, he claimed to see spirits and stuff as a child, but he was always, you know, he was a devout Christian, and
he read the Bible. Like he committed to reading the Bible once a year for his whole life.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of similarities to what Austin went through when he was younger. You know, he would see things. Once upon a time, you were a devout Christian.
Maybe you were Edgar Cayce in a past life.
Oh, dude, that was raw.
Oh.
That's it. That was just the one past life. He was raw and nobody else.
Go big or go home. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, hey, what are you about?
I'm tapped out at God, so you know.
Yeah. Something else that he was able to do, which kind of sounds like it's like a photographic memory, but he would literally put books underneath his pillow and go to sleep, and he would know what each and every single one of them said.
The
Osmosis,
right?
The fuck?
Yeah, I know.
That's some mad
I want to shove a textbook underneath my
like. I want to do that
pillow and be like, now I'm going to dream the information into my skull.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. I mean, I resonated with him because, like, he was actually, before he became, like, this, like, full-time psychic, he was a photographer and had his own studio and everything, which eventually, like, ended up burning down in 1906. And what was cool was that, like, he went through a lot of financial struggles.
Yeah.
Same.
Right.
Yeah, relatable. And he had a newborn son and everything. He just lost his studio, and still, like, this guy wouldn't charge for his readings.
No,
they were always free.
Like, refused to do that.
See, that's where I feel like, okay, then there's got to be credibility there, or that such a strong belief in what you're seeing or the information that you're receiving, because you're not doing it for profit. You're literally out there trying to just relay a message for the people. And regardless if, say, some of it was in his head or certain things like that, like, he already gets my respect just for the fact that he wasn't like, oh, well, I'll tell you your future if you give me a shiny nickel or something like that.
Yeah. He, I mean, he kind of got his start because, like, when he lost his voice, like, he used to work closely with his father.
Yeah.
So some people were saying, well, because, like, his job changed and he was doing something different, maybe, he didn't have to put as much strain on his voice. And so that's why, like, his voice ended up coming back. But, like,
yeah, he had to go through, like, several treatments or, like,
yeah,
he like went to practitioners and they like tried to figure everything out.
He went to a local hypnotist, and then while he was sleeping, he diagnosed himself and recommended the treatment for himself.
Yeah,
and then he got his voice back.
So how did he lose his voice? Like, what was the accident, or long occurrence of something that made him lose his voice.
Was it a physical, like, I physically can't speak, or was it more like a psychological, like a trauma that caused him from
I feel like
speaking?
it was more physical.
It was more physical.
Yeah, they didn't really, I didn't really see specifically what, I don't think it was like a certain thing that caused it.
It literally said that
It
he
was
lost his voice.
Yeah.
In a accident of some sort.
But it doesn't highlight what that accident was.
So sometimes, too, that's the medical, like, what's the word I'm thinking of? As, I don't want to say side effect, but some people, when they go through such a traumatic experience, you see it more so in children, you know, where they just don't talk. They just, you know, they don't respond. So that's why I was just like, well, you said it was an accident. Maybe it was something traumatic and he just, you know, psychologically and emotionally it wasn't there. But
yeah, he did. Okay, guess how many readings this guy did?
Oh my God!
Wait, no, let's actually do this. I'm gonna go with. I'm gonna highball it. I'm gonna go with 150.
I'm gonna say over 1,000.
14,000.
Yep.
306 psychic
I thought
readings.
I was highballing.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All for free.
And all of his like readings, there's so many different like categories that you could put it into, but they had to like break it down and put it into literally like 5 separate categories of how many, like out of how many he's done. And like he does like health related stuff, philosophy and reincarnation, dreams and dream interpretation, ESP and psychic phenomena, and spiritual growth, meditation, and prayer. But like there's 10,000 different subjects that he would go over in these readings.
And he eventually had to get like a secretary, basically, someone to help write and record all of these readings. That's what was going to be my
next question. Did somebody actually like write it all down, or is it just, oh, I'm roughly guesstimating it's this many people?
No, there was a lady that was with him like pretty much almost during his entire career as a psychic, and she recorded everything. And that's how they were able to keep track of all this stuff.
Like, well, you guys have to be my scribes. We'll put it on your resume.
And what's crazy is sometimes he didn't even need the person that he was treating to be in the room.
Yeah.
Like he just needed their name and their location.
Oh, so he would be able to do it remotely.
Yeah.
Damn.
Right?
Yeah, all he had to do is literally lay on a couch and fold his arms onto his stomach, and then, all right.
So he did this naturally. Like, it just came to him on what to do and how to do it. Did he study it, or is it
no,
just naturally?
So if he did one reading a day to equate to the 14,000 that you just said, he would have had to do for 38, almost basically 38 solid years of reading every single day to equate to that.
Yeah.
That's nuts. That's nuts.
Wow.
Because, like, according to him, he was almost able to, like, tap into, like, this universal consciousness.
Yeah. Yeah, it was like a super consciousness.
The thing
like,
that we're all attached to, potentially.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And he also believed that, you know, everyone should have a healthy diet, should exercise, do everything I'm not doing currently.
Yeah, same.
That's a big thing, too, with them.
I'm trying to eat healthier.
Yeah.
When
better.
The first time
better.
I went to the Theosophical Society, they had this massive billboard, and on the billboard, it was all about how being, like, living a plant-based diet, like, living a lifestyle that is plant-based, like, it helps you, something about, like, it connects you to the universe a little bit easier, I guess, or just, but they're very big on, like, vegetarian and plant-based diets, so.
The diet that he followed is now considered the Mediterranean diet.
Yeah.
Okay.
And he also believed that, like, if you ate, like, a handful of raw almonds every day, you wouldn't get cancer. So, I mean, I don't know if that's ever been tested. Like, I don't know. Yeah.
Why?
I mean, it can't hurt, right? I mean, they're almonds.
All right, you hear it, science nerds out there listening to us. We need answers. Almonds. Do they cure cancer?
A handful of almonds a day keeps the doctor away. Is that the new saying?
A handful of almonds keeps the cancer away.
Yeah.
Science people, give us the true or false to that.
Yeah.
You have a mission.
He was friends with a lot of doctors and stuff, so people thought that maybe sometimes during these readings and things, like, it was influenced by the knowledge that he picked up from, like, the people that he was associated with in the medical field.
I can believe that.
So that is, like, the one, like, criticism. He ended up opening up the Edgar Cayce, like, hospital, where it was, like, an actual hospital where he, like, gave these readings, but then he was accompanied by doctors to basically, you know, kind of fact check some of this stuff and then administer, like, treatment.
Now, was he here, like, stateside, so in the United States, or was he over in Europe?
Yeah, he was here in the U.S. He was born in Kentucky.
Okay.
So,
but he had some wild predictions. So certain things he did predict that were correct was the stock market crash in 1925 and 1929. He also predicted World War II 4 years before it happened. But he wasn't always correct in his readings. He did think that China would be a Christian nation by the 1960s. Yeah. And it's only 2.3%, or at the time it was only 2.3% Christian in China. And like another one that he came up with is that a death ray from Atlantis would be discovered. Japan would disappear into the sea.
Well, did he give time stamps?
Like,
because Japan is slowly disappearing into the sea.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
so is
think
California up here.
Yeah.
I don't know like exactly what time he gave, but during that time it hadn't happened yet, so people were dismissing it. And then he also thought Armageddon would happen in 1999.
2K, baby.
Yeah, Y2K.
Right.
I mean, you never know. He probably, with predictions like that, the world is ever changing. So we could have been, we don't know what the CIA and the FBI are doing.
Right.
So Armageddon could very possibly have almost happened, but we never know.
Yeah, that's true.
Sam and Dean Winchester saved us.
I was like getting into the movie Armageddon with Bruce Willis and Ben Affleck.
Agents Mulder and Scully, they helped prevent it.
There you go. Pick your guess.
Yeah.
Who stopped it?
Pick your fandom. Who stopped Armageddon in 1999?
Yeah, you'll find like with him specifically, it's kind of like people are either like, this guy is a saint, he's amazing, like he had all these predictions that were correct. I mean, after 14,000 readings, yeah, some of them are going to be right, some of them are going to be wrong. Mm-hmm. So, there's a lot of people that are divided on it. But I think he was just he sounded like a really good stand-up guy. And he even told people like during their treatments, like, take what I say with a grain of salt. Like, I don't want anyone getting injured because of what I tell them to do. So he took precautions. And
He sounds like a very, even though he's got all these supernatural gifts, he sounds very down to earth about them, which I really liked reading about him.
Yeah, his main goal was just to help people, not get the money or any of that kind of stuff. He wanted to help people, and especially kids, because his gift started as a child, and he wanted to help
others.
To help all the gifted kids and help everyone.
So our version of Charles Xavier.
Yeah.
So did Cayce ever say how he knew these things or how he was able to find these things? Because to me it almost sounds like he had access to the Akashic records, full reign of being able to move about and see these things and then come back and be like, hey, here's this is what you have to do. Was it something like that, or was it more so a force telling him this is what has to happen?
I think it's more the first one, because he doesn't really specifically there's nothing that specifically says, yeah, it's this person telling him all of this. I think he just has free reign of the Akashic records.
Okay, because that that could...
He doesn't remember any of this stuff
Yeah,
either.
I know.
So he wakes up and he like has no recollection of what he said.
That's a big thing, because
Wait, so you're saying all of this was him talking in his sleep. That's what you're saying.
Yeah.
He gets into like
okay.
when
Yeah,
you
that's
think
why he's
about
called
it,
the sleep prophet.
Yeah, he
I
gets
just
into
figured
this
he
meditated state,
Just
and
had the dreams and he'd wake up and be like, all right, this is what I saw.
like very similar to channeling. You know, when you're channeling something, you've got all this energy happening and you're trying to focus on so many things at once that only a little bit comes out. And then when you finally come to and everything is back to normal, you go, okay, what did I just say? What just happened? Like, so that's why I'm always adamant, like, when you have experiences like this, the moment you come out of it, like, either A, ask the people who are there to witness it, to, like, recap it for you and to write it down, or if you're by yourself, immediately write down everything that you can remember, because as time goes on, you lose it. You lose the memory of it because it just gets swept away in, like, your daily life. So
That's why it's good he had that one lady there to write everything down.
yeah, I'm gonna have to budget in a professional scribe to write down all of my stupid
Could you
shit.
imagine that lady's hours, though? She's like, oh, my God. Here we go.
It's 4 a.m, Edgar.
He's like, I'm feeling like I need a mid-afternoon nap. Oh, my God, I haven't slept in 3 days. Like, get here, Charlotte, and start scribing.
Would that be a salary-based job, or does she get paid by the hour?
Per word.
Hourly.
Are there benefits?
Yeah. Dental.
Dental and medical.
And he was, I mean,
Free coffee.
he did readings for like Thomas Edison, Woodrow Wilson. Like,
Yeah.
There's a couple of books actually how he was able to do a reading and go all the way back to the times of Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
And was able to walk through and see everything that happened. Like, he was walking with the apostles, and like it was crazy. Like, he's got all of these accounts out there. There's so many books on him. Like, Edgar Cayce was even the one, which we will get into in another episode, you know, the different starseed children that are incarnating. You know, the indigo children, the crystal children, like all of those. He predicted all of those, and now you're seeing it more and more with the next generation. So
Well, that ties in with Dolores Cannon with like her theory of like the new Earth, right? Like how we're in transition right now of karmic energy and stuff like that. Now that lady, hot damn, she's interesting too. Just the fact that like for what, like 50 plus years or something like that, she used like hypnosis and past life regression therapy, like what I think they coined it like quantum healing hypnosis techniques, where she would like guide people not just back into like past lives, but into that void, that like split, that like space where your soul spends before reincarnation and stuff like that.
I actually read her one book, Between Death and Life, and I highly recommend everyone, if you can't get through the whole book, at least try and start reading it, because she was able to put people in this like past life regression, and she started noticing the more and more she did the past life regression, this would pop up, like people going back to the in-between. It wasn't I'm in this life and now I'm in that life. She started finding that people were regressing to that in-between stage before, like right after you pass, what's going on, and then everything that happens before you get ready to go into the next life.
like purgatory?
Not so much purgatory.
It's like where you're,
Because purgatory is more so like you're stuck there. You know, the Christian construct of you're not in heaven, you're not in hell, you're just kind of lost on this ethereal plane.
No, it was more akin to like when I was talking about like my first past life regression. Remember how I was talking about like I was in that like that space in between where I was there for I don't know how long. Like it could have been hundreds of years, thousands of years. Time didn't really work the same way we see it linear. It was like time was all the time, everything past, present, future was all existing in that space. And it felt like home. It was like restful. It was peaceful.
A movie that does an excellent job of kind of going over that is What Dreams May Come.
Oh,
Now, it's also
Sad movie.
such a good movie, but so sad.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Robin Williams, especially if you go back and watch it now after Robin Williams has passed away, there's not a single person out there who can get through that movie without shedding a tear.
Yeah, me and Lauren watched it together, and she's like, "You're gonna cry," and I was like,
"You need to see
Wait,
this."
was that the first time you ever saw that?
Yeah.
I remember watching that as a kid. My dad rented it at like Family Video or whatever it was, and he's like, "Oh yeah, this might be funny because it's Robin Williams, right?"
There is. If you go and watch this movie, there is a trigger warning, content warning. It does have suicidal content in it, obviously death, but it is a very heavy and beautifully done movie. And it does kind of go over the different ways that people see the afterlife and the different things that kind of go on. Now, I can say for a fact, because I also read the book by Richard, is it Matheson? He's the same author who wrote I Am Legend, that zombie movie with Will Smith. And he also did Hell House, I believe. But it's about, so the movie follows this family, and the father of the family ends up passing. And just everything that happens, like, he's consciously aware that he's passed. He has this guide that follows him and, like, kind of walks him through everything and keeps him calm. And then, when he's ready, he lingers on the plane for a little bit. And then when he's ready, he moves on. And he moves on to this other plane, and he's got multiple guides that come and talk to him and kind of walk him through what it is to be deceased. And Dolores Cannon, when she was doing these past life regressions, now it wasn't just one person. She would do on multiple different people, and all of these people are strangers. So it's not like all these people got together and are like, yeah, we're gonna sit here and we're gonna tell her this happened and this happened. And no, they're all different strangers, and all of these strangers said the same thing, that they were greeted by some guide and they were conscious about what had happened. And when they finally moved to the next area, it was just this well-oiled kind of machine how things went. You had guides there, then there was a part where they actually showed you this like tapestry of how everything in life works, because that's kind of how she explained it. In a way, the Akashic Records was like this beautiful tapestry, and every single thread that's being woven into this tapestry is a life and how things kind of connect. It also, in the Between Death and Life book, it talks about that space. If there's a soul that suffers a tragedy, or they lived a very, very difficult life, before they decide to move on to the next one, they need to heal. They need to learn and kind of recap things. So they go into this like room, which is very similar to what Austin saw when he did his past life regression. Very, very interesting. There's people who remember being trapped in between. They pass on and they go, you know what, I'm not ready to die yet. So they'll linger on this place, or on that plane, and it's very much so like, I can see things in front of me, but I can't grasp them. Like, I'm walking around the house and I'm trying to yell for somebody, but they're not listening. And it's like, it talks about the struggles of a spirit who was lost on that plane, and then when they finally decided to move on, like, these accounts are so fascinating. And I highly, highly recommend anybody who is interested in this go back and read, because I personally haven't had an actual regression. Like, I've had somebody do kind of like a reading of my past lives, and then I myself had flashbacks, like full-on flashbacks. So I think that's what Laura needs to do. Laura needs to put herself through a past life regression.
Yeah, I need to do it too. I've been wanting to do it since I pretty much got my reading done, but I haven't like I pulled it up and I started to do it, and I was like, we're gonna wait.
Yeah, they tell you you need to wait, because going back, like, first of all, going back and experiencing things, you know, you're opening up wounds, you're opening up things that, you know, it's maybe you haven't made peace with yet, maybe you haven't.
Well, one of the things during my research, right, one of the practitioners who goes through, and she also helps people go through and guide them through their past life, she very much highlighted that, like, your soul will never show you anything that you're not ready to see.
Right.
It will always safeguard you from traumas that you're just literally you wouldn't be able to handle.
Right.
So for me, like, going way back, you know, when I came out of that past life regression, my second one, you know, I pulled that loss with me, right? So throughout the last like 2 weeks of thinking about, like, why was I shown that? Why was I feeling that loss? I think it's due to the fact that I've suffered a lot of loss in my life, and I hold on to it. I don't know. I have a hard time sort of grieving, or a hard time like letting go of certain traumas and things like that. And I think essentially what it was showing me was like, you're still doing this, and you've done it multiple times in other past lives. Like, it's time to just let go and move forward. It's okay to just let that baggage drop. And that's one thing Dolores Cannon talks about with karma. She talks about, like, in this lifetime and other lifetimes, dealing with karmic energy, that it essentially is like heavy weights on your soul. Your soul can only ascend so high when you're holding on to all that weight. So to keep essentially ascending higher and higher and higher into, like, if you want to call the enlightenment stage or whatever it is, you have to learn how to process the karma that you've been carrying and just let it go. Like, she talks about, like, you know, you'll have some people who are being like, oh, my ex-wife, she did me so dirty, I hate that bitch, kind of thing. And the same thing, oh, my ex-husband, right? And she'll talk about, like, holding on to that anger, that hatred, that resentment and all that. It doesn't do anything to the other person. It's literally only affecting yourself and bringing your frequency or your energy and everything just further down. And the only way you're going to ascend past it is literally just let it go. Forgive whatever wrongs that were done to you. She's like, she talks about, like, if you were abused as a child, she's like, does it suck? Yeah. But she's like, you're holding on to your pain. She's like, let go of your pain and just move on. And you'll, like, these things that have just been weighing you down, and you feel like you just, every hindrance in your life, you'll just start shedding that away, and life will just get easier. And she's like, and then when you're reborn again, you won't bring that with you. So you might not even experience the same stuff that you've experienced, the traumas that you've gone through in this life. You won't have to repeat that to try to learn a lesson, because you've already gotten rid of it this lifetime. She's very adamant about that. Like, especially with the new earth, she talks about, like, the karmic energy and the shift and everything. And she's like, it's so gradual, you really won't notice it. She's like, there'll be big events in the world and things like that when you're a light worker and you start paying attention of your spiritual awakening, you start looking at the world around you, you can start noticing it. But it's so gradual that you won't know when it's like the old earth is cut off and you're into the new earth. And she's like, pretty much everyone who's let go of their karmic energy, all that negative, all that past kind of thing, they'll move and transition with the new earth. And everyone who's still holding on, they're going to be stuck with the old earth. And I don't know, it's really fascinating. It's really interesting. And I know she was very adamant, and she never wanted to be called a channeler. She's like, I don't channel. I just use hypnotism And these beings, you know, aliens, whatever you want to call it, were the ones coming through all these individuals relaying. And she even says a lot of her books that she wrote were due to the information that she was getting from these people saying, the world needs to know, you need to write this down and give it a platform. So that's what she did.
That the convoluted universe, that's a big one that a lot of people read. I have yet to get to that book, but that is definitely on my list of books to read that came out.
Would someone with an average IQ be able to read her books and be like, get it? Or is it just...
I think so. I mean, it's not so much about your IQ, it's about how open your mind is with it. You know, it's taking a step back and going, okay, this is what this person experienced. Okay, she was able to receive a message from, I guess, like an alien or a light being or a star being or ascended master and stuff like that, you know? The average person who doesn't really know about that stuff is going to be like, crazy bitch. Like, the fuck? Lock her up. But, like, it's all about your openness, and she's not the only one that's channeled these things before. There's right now, which I really want to do an episode on C5 and Dr. Stephen Greer, because he...
Oh, is he the one with the, alien?
Yeah, he's the one who used to work in, is it Area 51?
No, not Area 51.
Where did he was a big one that was kind of like
he was a
whistleblower.
He was like a legit doctor and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But I don't want to, say anything wrong, so I'm not even going to give it some conclusion.
We'll do an episode on
we'll talk
him,
about
too.
him
but
at some,
he also,
at some point.
he's a doctor, he's very scientific, but he also believes in meditation, and part of the contact that he's made with quote unquote aliens or ultra terrestrials or whatever you want to call them, he's also received messages from those beings, and he holds these C5 contact things. There's even an app on your phone. You think you pay $10,
something
and
like that.
It walks you through everything on how to create a C5 experience. And
not sponsored.
Yeah, not sponsored, not paid, nothing. This is just me saying, hey. But if you want to sponsor us, let us know. But he's another one that, would receive these things. And there's actual photos of them holding these C5 group contact things. And you can see the different lights and these beings that kind of show up in the photography because they record everything. They take photos. They have sensor things. So,
well, the interesting thing, it always comes down to where it's with a lot of these people who have experiences. So you got Madam, you got Edgar, and you got Dolores, right? And now you got Dr.
Madam Blavatsky. Madam's not her first name.
Well, whatever.
Helena, thank you very much.
Oh, Helena
Blavatsky.
But they're all talking about it's very positive, the energy that they're pulling from these things, and the information that they're getting is basically just, why the hell do we have so much hatred, and why the hell do we destroy our planet? Why the hell are we just always at each other's throats? And it's just love one another. Stop judging and just get to that level, because that's essentially what they're just saying. If you really want that overall peace in your life, you just got to let go and just accept people where they're at and love them where they're at.
It's blunt.
What's that? Yeah. What's that quote? The only time you should ever be above somebody else is when you're helping that person up.
Aww.
Is that a T-shirt?
That's
no,
cute.
it's an actual.
I've heard
it's
that.
an actual saying,
WWJD.
I mean, I get it. Everything has to be you've got good versus evil. You've got light versus
balance.
dark. So there's got to be that balance. But these people sound like they're part of a sort of, what would be the term? A metaphysical Avengers? Trying to fight the bad stuff that keeps overflowing and trying to bring in this new world of just positivity and stuff. And it sounds like through going back and learning your lessons and the things that you need to be aware of through your past lives is what can help you be more successful and put things in perspective and allow you to be more mindful in this life. So
yeah, so I know like every time we like essentially our avatar, right, our meat suit that we're wearing right now, we die, right? It's basically our soul saying, hey, I learned the stuff I needed to learn. So our soul leaves, goes to the higher consciousness, the creation, the source, right? And then we literally take our bad experiences and we learn like, okay, like apparently
it's like you
our
sit
souls
down at a table and
Yeah,
it's like
and
a
you're just
conference meeting. Like, okay, let's go over the things that you learned in this life. All right, you were a shit here, so maybe we need to work on this in the next life. Or, you know what, maybe this was good, why don't we do... Like, it's like you literally sit at a table and you go over the things that were good and bad in this lifetime, all the karmic attachments that you may have picked up or that you leveled up from.
Yeah,
I don't know how else to put that.
That's exactly what it is. It's essentially you're going to leave some of the trauma behind. Like some of it's just because like your soul just doesn't need to carry all of it. It just needs to carry what you still need to learn to.
And sometimes too,
to
some of that
adjust to.
trauma wasn't something that you did. It's so like the best way to describe it is I'm walking through my day and I'm minding my own business, and then all of a sudden someone comes by with a machete and then just chops me up. Like, that's not my karma. That's somebody else's
did
karma
that happen
that's
in a past
developing.
life?
No, but it was just an example that it was the first example that came to my head, you know? Like,
That's alarming.
Yeah, right? I'm going to scoot it like 10 feet away.
but I didn't do anything. Like, it was a random thing that happened. So it's not my karma developed, you know, it was somebody.
No, but that's interesting that
else's.
you say that. So like one of the ideas is that our souls, when we're in that in-between state before we come back, like they say there's two different kinds of souls, right? There's light workers and there's just non-light workers. Non-light workers and light workers, they both have, each time your soul comes back, it's looking for evolution. It's looking for progress and development of itself. But with light workers, they have this drive, this tendency to always want to help essentially the fellow man, like bring enlightenment to other people. You're always questioning everything that you hear. Like, you know, you are
always
who you
question
are.
authority, kids.
Like, you know, you
Fuck the police.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
Hey, Cat.
So they say like light workers, if your soul is part of that light worker like ascendancy, right? Like you come back more often than other people. But everything is like under a soul contract, they say. So like you'll meet the same people that you essentially have had shared other life experiences with. You know, it could be soulmates, twin flames, whatever you want to call it. But it's also due to the fact it needs to help you as an individual, your soul as an individual, like essentially learn from lessons and evolve. And sometimes you need certain other people that could be essentially a soulmate to help you teach those lessons or help you in times of needs that development. But that going said, even though like everything is sort of planned
episode on
out,
twin flames and soulmates, and when we do that, it'll make a little more sense.
Yeah, but basically that's being said, like with everything, like your soul essentially says, okay, I have my whole life planned out for me before I'm born and back on Earth. But chaos is chaos and shit can throw a wrench in your plans. So I don't want you to think like if you're listening to this being like, oh my God, my soul told me I had to go through all this hell that I went through as like, you know, X, Y, and Z, right, throughout my life. That's not necessarily the case. It very much could have just been the chaos that is also a part of the world that affected you, and it threw a pipe wrench in the whole plan. And now you have to learn to adjust, but part of that is that karmic balance and learning how to forgive and let go and make those adjustments and just move forward.
Yeah,
So.
because I don't think my soul would have agreed to
no, the stuff that I've been through. No.
Yeah, no.
I'd have too much of a hard time swallowing
obviously, it's not the same for everybody. Everyone has a different walk of life. So, again,
take everything we say with a grain of salt because we're
Maybe
not
half a grain of
experts.
salt.
Yeah. we're not experts. We're just going off of our personal experiences and the research that we've come across. So,
yeah. I had a past life dream flashback type of thing, and I talked about it in the last past life episode. But I kind of wanted to go into that dream a little bit more, because it does explain, like, my past life reading explains why I had this dream. In the dream, I was in World War II, and I was a female. I was around the same age that I am right now. And in the dream, I was getting pulled into this train. Well, the train didn't have a top on it. So when we were going, like, the wind was blowing and everybody was crying and freaking out and, like, screaming. And when we got to our destination, we were being pulled off there and put into a different train car, but this one was completely enclosed with no windows other than the windows that the people that were pushing us in there, like, so they could see what was going on. And all of a sudden I started to see, like, gas coming out from the ceilings and the walls, and, like, in that moment I knew, I was like, I'm gonna die in this, like, and I could feel everything. Like, I could feel my lungs constricting and, like, I could not breathe. And so I went into my reading with this in mind. And one of my questions was, why did they show me this? Like, why this one? And it goes back to the past life that I was the warrior and I did bad things. Like, that life basically was like, I had no compassion. So the world was like, okay, let's throw you into this life where you die and you lose everything
due to a big, like, group of people who lacked compassion for that.
Yeah. So they were basically just showing me that I needed to learn
I want to
compassion.
jump in really quick because I want to highlight that karmic energy, karma in itself is neutral. It doesn't just mean it's bad. Like, it's not just this, because there's that phrase, karma's a bitch, right?
Yeah.
Because everyone assumes, like, karma's associated just to being bad.
Can I just say, karma's only a bitch if you are.
Well, yeah.
So
no, that's exactly what it is. Because karma
Like-
is essentially, think of a mirror. When you're looking, like, karma is a reflection of you, reflection of your actions as well as your intention.
That's why I don't say have a good day anymore. I say have the day you deserve. You know, because
I like that.
But intention as well as action affect karma. So when you have that intention of, like, so one example was like that as I was, one of the YouTube videos that I was watching, she gave a really good example of this practitioner. And she's like, you know, if you say you had a really bad breakup, right, and you're full of rage and everything, and you get in your car and you're like, your whole intent is, I'm going to crash my car into my ex. And I want to hurt them. I want them to,
I think we've all been there.
you know, I want to kill them kind of thing. Like, so you do that versus someone who potentially was driving and, you know, had a long day and fell asleep at the wheel in a terrible accident like that. The karmic balance of that is weighed differently. So, like, when you're talking about your past life where you had no, like, you could give a shit about human life. You were just, as that warrior, you were just taking those life. The karmic justice was basically, here's a reflection of yourself. You didn't let that go. You didn't have remorse. You didn't do any of that in the lifetime as a warrior. So now you're coming back and you have to feel that same loss that you basically did. And it's, like I said, it's neutral. It's that mirror. It's a mirror image. And the other thing was, that was really interesting. The practitioner said that countries can hold karmic energy as well. So, like, in America, you know, we have a dark history. You know, we conquered this damn land and took it away from the indigenous people who already own this land, as well as then we imported slaves, and it was just, we have
Well, yeah,
a
'cause
bunch of terrible history tied to this country, and we're still trying to deal with it and bring justice to it all.
Butchered and genocide the indigenous people that were there, and then they went and were like, oh, well, we don't have enough, so they imported slaves and basically did that. Like,
Yeah, so
horrible karma.
as a country, we're all held responsible for the karmic energy that we need to basically bring justice to, which you can see right now in 2020 that we're very much trying to do so, you know, trying to make that change for that positive, you know. And that I thought was a really interesting idea, that, you know, karmic energy can be so massive that it can affect, you know, a few people like high up in enough power that affect the overall leadership and dominion over like their country, that their decisions and their actions and their intentions that brainwash other people can literally cause a ripple effect throughout generations. I was like,
think
that's nuts.
Yeah, and that also, like, just as a whole, like, even there's karmic attachments through like ancestral bloodlines, you know? And I've had this discussion with a family member about how it's important to, when you're going through the process of healing yourself spiritually, it's important to take account, you know, all of the karma that's laid down on you from your ancestors, you know? When I first started facilitating Circle, and every time we have a new member, I always like to bring this up, you know? A woman is born with all the eggs that she is ever going to have. And with that, you know, there was a time where your grandmother also held you in her body. So it's like, it's a deep karmic, like, thing. So, like, think about it. When your grandmother was pregnant with your mother, you know, your grandmother had all the eggs that she was ever going to bear. When your mother was being formed, like, yeah, well, no, the conception's one thing, but when she's developing in the womb, you know, when she's finally being born, you know, she's born with all of her eggs. You were once one of those eggs. So it's like meta, like your grandma, your mom, and then you. And then if, you know, you are someone who was born a female, you were also born with all those eggs. So it just kind of like keeps going. But it's the image I have that just kind of like really pushes this whole karmic thing through the bloodline, you know? I mean, that also pertains to our trans folk out there too, you know? Everyone at some point was linked to their mother and their grandmother. So it's just, it all goes down. So we all connected one way or another. And if your grandmother or your great-grandmother had all of these like karmic attachments, sometimes those attachments just flow through the bloodline. So part of me and my purpose here, I know, is what?
Oh, I was just trying to think, because you have like the how-to, and I'm like trying to.
Oh, we were gonna
aware of what to look for when, like, what's that transition to? Like,
I will get into that. Excuse me, I will get to that. Fuck, what was I saying? It's okay.
Karmic attachments.
Right. Oh, so personally, one of my purposes that I have, that I know is one of my purposes, is to break the karmic attachments that my family has, you know, and I'm not going to go too into detail because it's more of a personal thing, but it's just all a part of healing in this lifetime. So therefore, the next generation, so like if I decide to have kids in the future, like if I break these things and I heal from it, and I also help my family heal from it, then these kinds of karmic attachments, my children and my children's children and so on and so forth, they won't have to deal with it, you know? Don't worry, mommy's gonna come up with a bunch of other karmic shit you'll have to deal with, but that stuff that I'm working on with my family, it won't be passed on. So But with that being said, in order to like take that step to go into like past life regressions, there's a lot of things that I think someone should do beforehand. Like, first of all, when we go and we talk about past life regressions, the first thought is, oh, cool, I want to know who I was in a past life. Like, was I Einstein? Was I Boudica? Like, you immediately want to know, like, was I this person? Was I that person? Like, that part is really fucking cool. But there's a lot of other heavy attachments that come with that, you know? For example, Amanda, you found out in a past life that you were a not so great person.
Yeah.
Like,
You a dick.
You've come a long way, girl. Look at you.
So, like, and it's so weird because, you know, we see Amanda, we see the compassionate, motherly, like, beautiful Amazon goddess before us.
Hey, girl,
like, but it's, you know, you had this traumatic past life where you did all these horrible things, and it's like, making peace with that, it's a lot to deal with. It's a lot to sit on.
Yeah, and I'm still, like, going through the motions with that, because it's like, when, like you said, when you think of me, you don't see that type of person, and it's like, you feel as though you could never be that type of person, but when you find out that you were, it's like it's a gut check.
But understand, you aren't who you were.
Right. No, I
So
know.
every time you're born into this life, this is you've never experienced who you are right now, ever before. So your personality, what you look like, all of that is the first time you've ever experienced this, as well as when you die, this is the last time you'll ever experience the same kind of thing.
Yeah.
Because everything's a lesson learned. So, like, in a way, like, you're compassionate now because you already learned your lesson during that past life dream that you had. So, because you felt that utter loss, that literal, you know, like, I can't even imagine like, what anyone went through during that time. And
like, when you think about the big things, like, in our lifetime, we learn more, like, everyone in America, you always learn about slavery. And I know when we learned about that stuff in high school, like, I was sickened. I was traumatized. Like, they would put pictures up on the billboard, and they would show us these poor souls hanging from trees, and, like, I just learning about that and seeing all that stuff, that to this day, like, I can't sit with it. I start to tear up because it's so horrible that people did that. And I can only imagine, like, if I went into a past life and God forbid I found out that I was one of those people who did that, like, not saying that that's not what I saw, that's not saying like that's, but say I went into a past life and I saw that, like, it would fuck me up.
Yeah.
Like, so while it's fun and cool seeing some of this stuff, it's also, you have to be in the right state of mind. You have to be able to just kind of see it and just be like, okay, that was then, this is me now. I have lessons that I need to learn from it. So it is very heavy and it is very serious. And that's why, like, if it's a first time going through things and you don't have, I don't know, if you don't have a guide or you don't have someone who's experienced with it, I highly recommend seeking out a practitioner who can help you through it, who can walk you through it, who can explain things for you and how to do it. See, I'm just, like, even bringing up that possibility, like, I'm still kind of, like, shaking just thinking about it, just because but it's heavy. And with that too, you know, with a regression, a reading's a little different because somebody else is actually seeing these things and they're pulling them off you. Like, with a reading, I feel like if you want to delve into it, I think the best first step is to go to a practitioner and have them read a past life from you and tell you things. Like, because if you just start going into it and you start experiencing
you mean what Cassie and I did? We should have just went to a practitioner. We shouldn't have listened. You're basically saying I was wrong. I shouldn't have told you guys to go and do that.
Basically, yes.
Thanks, Lauren.
Okay. Hey, thanks. You heard it here. You heard it here on podcast.
I was wrong, and I should have had them go for a reading, but hindsight is 20/20, and do what I say, not as I do.
Actually, be careful, because she did tell us.
That is true.
Well, do what I say now, okay? Like,
That was past Lauren.
Yeah.
This is current, Lauren.
you had a reading done. So when you had your reading with Betsy
I was
Morgan
a sailor.
Kaufman, she read for you. She kind of told you some of your past lives. So technically you did that. Cassidy, I'm sorry I wronged you. Don't worry. I'll make it up to you in a past life.
I will
or the
never
next
forgive you
life.
for this. I'm going to bring this resentment to all my lives.
No, let go of
In
that
my
karmic
next life,
attachment.
I will be your personal shaman.
Oh my god.
But in all seriousness, I think the best route for someone who's really interested in this stuff, I think you should seek out a reader, someone who's well versed in this stuff, and have them do a reading for you, because that way they can kind of walk you through it and help you out with things and help you kind of sort things out. If you've already had a reading, or you're looking for, I want to experience some of the stuff, or I want to learn it by myself, I think it's very important that you are in the right state of mind. If there are things in your past that have happened that have caused major trauma, or even if you suffer from PTSD or some of those things, I think you should talk to someone who's well versed in this before diving into an actual regression, because if there's things that aren't dealt with, or there's things that you haven't made peace with, it's 95% likely that those things are going to pop up in that regression, and you're not going to be ready for it, and it's just going to fuck you up even more.
But that goes back to where I almost feel like I was saying earlier, your soul won't show you anything that you're not ready for. So it's like that thing where, like,
but if you're
not even in the right
easily
state of
triggered
mind
by something, like, that's why it's important to do it in the right state of mind. Like, if I'm on edge, say I'm on edge and I'm having like an anxiety panic attack, and at the drop of a pin I'll just freak out. No.
Probably not the best idea, yeah.
No, you shouldn't be like, I'm just going to go do a past life regression real quick. Yeah, we
I don't
got
think
you.
you'd be able
Open up
to
that
get
can of
into
worms.
that.
Yeah,
I don't even think
no.
you'd be able to get yourself into that mindset to even be able to experience something like that if you're already heightened.
Yeah.
Like, you have to be like, I had to get like super relaxed to even try to even see something.
Some people are different, There might be people who are a little more sensitive to those things, and
Regardless, be careful.
Yeah.
So I use your discretion. Like, there are other things that you might have to do before you do a past life regression.
Yeah.
You might need to do healing, energy healing. There's something called soul fragmentation. If you're someone who has had a very extremely traumatic event happen in your life, or there's just trauma throughout, it's possible that your soul fragments and parts of your soul are left in those times. And there's a process called soul fragment retrieval you would need a professional to help you with, and there are practitioners out there who are well versed in it and who can go more into it. I do not think personally that people should just dive into it and go, I can do this, I can do that, I can do this. Like, I think it's important to have a support system. It's important to have people there to help you, or a wise person to help, because a lot of this stuff is very heavy. And I know personally, when I started having my spiritual awakening and all of this stuff started happening, like, I'm very thankful that I had certain people in my life to help me walk it through, because of how traumatic some of it was. Everyone thinks, oh, my spiritual awakening is going to be great. I'm going to start being a psychic. I'm going to have all these lucid dreams. It's going to be fucking phenomenal. Nah, bitch.
No.
Refer back to episode 1 on that.
Yeah. Like, if you want to feel like your life's being cracked in half, like, it's not, it's, in hindsight, you see the plus side of it, but it's a wild ride. So
I think doing a past life regression would be more on the, what would you say, like...
No,
I don't know. Like, are you
level?
talking like levels? I don't know.
Yeah, like an intermediate level. Like if you think you're kind of like roughly around.
Yeah.
I mean,
that
I still
time.
think I'm like uber beginner, and I still did it. And I mean,
Yeah,
hey,
well,
all right.
you're that type of person that goes, there's something spooky over in that dark pitch black corner. I'm gonna go straight for that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like you're the bimbo in the horror movie that goes, oh my god, what was that noise? I'm gonna go downstairs and check while I'm just in a white t-shirt and no pants.
So you're saying I'm hot. Got it. All right. No, but I mean, honestly, though, I'm at the same point. Like, sometimes literally a noise in a corner is just a noise in the corner. There ain't nothing spooky
And
about
sometimes it's a spirit trying to get your reaction. So
Well, yeah, and he's going to be disappointed because he'd be like, son of a bitch, this guy ain't scared.
Yeah. I think back to like when I
Marching
did my
towards him.
reading, because after my reading, I actually got like a healing done by a friend who's a Reiki. She's not.
Yeah, she's a Reiki. She's a
Yeah.
master,
Yeah,
a Reiki master.
Yeah, Reiki master. And now I'm going into this like, yeah, I can do this regression, but I probably couldn't have gone through that before the healing, because where my mindset was before the healing, it wouldn't have been possible. And I would have come out of it like fucked up.
Yeah.
So, yeah, if you want to do it, I would suggest doing a reading first.
Unless you're already fucked up like me and you want to get
Hey.
things a little bit more fucked up, then
Yeah.
Side
Yeah.
note, don't listen to these morons. Just
What?
do it right.
Do it our way. Join the dark side.
No.
We have cookies.
Welcome to our podcast. Our goal is to make you extremely fucked up
Confused?
and triggered by the end of it.
No.
Like,
No, just be smart, be
Yeah.
safe. That's pretty much where it really comes down to. If you're unsure and you do want to explore this and your curiosity is like how mine is, where you're just like, yeah, I just want to do it. Like, go find a practitioner that can assist you with it. I mean, that being said, like, I totally didn't think anything was going to happen, and shit, did it 2 times in the same day, and stuff happens.
which I don't recommend. Don't do a past life regression twice in the same day. You're supposed to, like, wait a couple weeks, because the first time you go
Yeah.
in, you can experience, like, you opening wounds, and then you don't want to go back and be like, this was horrible. I want more trauma.
do it
So
again.
basically what she's saying, once again, go back to don't listen to her.
Do as I say, not as I do. Or I say, do as I say, not what I say to Austin and Cassidy.
Yeah, that's a little bit more
We're
accurate.
here.
Yeah.
We're here to trial and error,
Yeah,
guys.
Yeah, I guess
This
I'm
is
the
user
guinea pig.
error.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're the guinea pigs here.
Yeah.
We'll do it and we'll report
I mean,
back
I'll
to
always
you.
jump in. I mean, whatever.
It's not my fault.
I'm
there was
messing
user
my
error.
life up for you guys, so appreciate this.
Share us,
Yeah,
please. Subscribe, follow.
Yeah, with that transition, exactly do that.
I do want to go into real quick. There was something that I was always super curious about when it came to past lives, and I literally looked it up. I was just like, could you be your own ancestor?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, apparently you can.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, you could go back into your family tree and you literally could be staring at your soul just in a different, like, lifetime. Bruh.
Yeah,
Well, that
I've
actually- no,
heard
but
a
that
lot
goes,
of
like,
accounts
into
of
the-
that.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
goes with the soul contract. So
Mhm.
you know, like you had highlighted earlier where you're like, you were a husband, and Lauren, you had highlighted prior that, you know, like, husband and wife, right? They might switch roles. So, like, in that sense, or it could be like families, like, oh, the kids are going to play the parents this time, and the parents are going to be the kids. Like, weird ass shit like
thought
that.
I heard a story about a young child that had that happen. Like,
Okay, I think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I read that there's this little boy, he, like, when he was a toddler, he would speak to his grandfather, and his grandfather had passed away several years before this child's birth. But one day his dad was changing his diaper and he looked up at his dad and literally said, "When I was your age, I changed your diapers." And
Yeah, suck it, Dad.
the mom actually
How do you like it?
started questioning the little boy about another family member that had passed away that they really didn't talk about to the child. And she asked him, if you are grandpa, quote unquote, did you have any siblings? And he said, yeah, I had a sister who died. And then he explained like how she had died. And this kid had no idea.
There's quite a few stories of like toddlers right as they like they're beginning, you know, they're talking and stuff where they can recollect the past lives that they had.
Yeah.
There was a similar story where a young boy was playing with his airplane, and he was like 2 or 3 years old, and he was able to sit there and he was able to label like what each area of the plane was, the cockpit, what was carried in the cockpit.
I
And then
heard
he was
about that.
playing with
Yeah.
it. And he was telling his mom, I think she was holding him, and all of a sudden, like, he was going through when he passed away. You know, he was telling her, like, the plane crashed, and I can feel this.
And he was super young. Like, I
Yeah.
don't, like, what? Like,
I don't remember how old he was, but he had to be within, like, anywhere between 3 to 5.
yeah, I think, literally think he was like 4 years old.
Like, and he was able to, he was giving a name, I think. He was telling his mom, oh, like, I was here, this was my best friend. And the mom did some research, and she realized that the man that the little boy's name was calling was like, he was alive still. So she called him up. She brought the little boy and him together to meet, and they were talking as if they were old friends. Like, so it's believed that the little boy was a reincarnated soul of this older gentleman who had fought in one of the wars with this guy. And so it's crazy, but it's like stories like this are so fascinating. Like,
Yeah, and when you think about it, like, all these kids are really young when they are recalling this, and it stops around school age.
well, yeah,
Like, they just
because-
stop talking about
Yeah,
it.
because from being a newborn all the way up to like basically age 6, we have like theta waves, which are sort of a hypnosis, like dream state, creative kind of basically brainwave in our body and stuff. So they always say, like, you know, that's why like kids can sort of have a more, they have that, like, you know,
Yeah.
like for me as a kid, right? Like I was seeing spirits and stuff like that. Like it could have been associated with the fact that I was still, my ego wasn't in place yet. Like my full on personality of figuring out who I was and everything wasn't really solidified in my mind at that point. So I was very creative, very open-minded to just the world and the experiences around me. So I don't know. The world is crazy. All this stuff is crazy. I don't know.
Yeah.
That just, I think, didn't we talk about that in an episode where, you know, when you're younger, you're so
Yeah.
imaginative and you have all these
Yeah.
gifts, but then once you start going to school, it's like,
Life gets ahead of you.
yeah, and you don't talk about that stuff. You're told to grow up and,
Yeah.
you know, you need to be more of an adult and all that stuff. So
Yeah. I don't suggest you bring your child to a past life regression.
I'm bringing my child. I'd be like, Timmy, come here.
Like,
Witness me.
if your child is kind of talking about this kind of stuff, like, talk to them about it.
Be
Like, ask
very
them
open.
questions. Like, ask if they know a name and, like, kind of figure out. Like, keep that in their head, but also, like, don't.
Don't shut them down.
Yeah, no.
Like, even if it sounds crazy or astronomical, like, just walk them through it, ask them some questions. You never want to put that doubt in them, because then it slowly starts, once you
Yeah.
start doing that, it slowly starts to close them off. And, you know, speaking from personal experience, like, if I could have stayed open a little bit more, then when my awakening literally roundhouse kicked my door down, like, it wouldn't have been as traumatic as
Right.
it was.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's important to always have an open mind, and it's very important to also instill that words.
Distill them.
Distilled water.
It's better to instill having an open mind with them, because what the hell could that, like, why would that be a bad thing?
Right.
Like, don't teach your kids to grow up to be closed-minded little shits.
Yeah, no.
Like,
we don't need
kids-
any more of
The
that.
best kids are the ones that are the most imaginative and have those open minds. Like,
Yeah.
any last remarks?
No, I think, I mean, I
Yeah.
covered what I wanted to cover. I feel pretty good.
All right. I think this was a good conversation, guys.
Yeah, and if you guys have anything to add to it, just let us, like, contact us and we'll...
My brain is mush.
We're going to go ahead and with our episode notes, as usual, we'll link everything in there. We will actually link the 2 different past life regression guided meditations that Cassidy and Austin did. We're going to put those in the episode notes too. Please share if you have any experiences with this stuff, or you want us to cover more on a certain topic. We'll be more than happy to dive into this again. And I know we'll definitely be diving into this because there's so much on Helena Blavatsky and Edgar Cayce and Dolores Cannon. Like, we could do...
We didn't even scratch the surface.
Yeah, we could easily do at least 2 or 3 episodes on those people individually alone.
I would love to talk about Blavatsky a little bit more.
Gosh.
Yeah.
Yes.
I love her.
And hell, maybe if COVID dies down, we can do like a field trip and we'll cover that there. So with that being said, like, follow, subscribe, share us with your friends, and join us next week. With that, stay spooky, folks.
See you later.
See ya.
Bye. Thanks for listening.